Welcome to the podcast that questions everything, from conspiracies to philosophy, from science to religion. We will be looking at the construct of the illusion, and as always, we will question everything. Hello and welcome to an episode of Everything's an Illusion, a podcast where we question everything. In this episode, we'll be looking at topics for life, the things that you never get taught in school, but probably should have, around about the kind of age of 12 to 17, the kind of years that you're becoming an adult, the kind of key classic things that you should have got. So without further ado, sit down, relax, tune in, and this is it. Everything's an illusion. Here we go. So basically, when you're at school, and school's fantastic in the sense of you get to socialise, you get to do all these different fantastic things, and you learn about all these different subjects. So obviously I'm based in Scotland, and for me I went to school when I was 4 and finished when I was 17, so that was 13 years. But most people start at 5 and go 18, and they do a kind of minimum of 13 years, and the first 8 years are important, and it should be a combination of all the wonderful things that you get at school, i.e. maths, English, languages, religious education, physical education, geography, physics, chemistry, biology, modern studies, history, technological studies, art, home, economics, music, business, computing. And they are all fantastically valuable subjects for giving you an understanding of the world and giving you an understanding of what you maybe want to go on to as a career or to further study at a college or university. If you're extremely gifted, or you enjoy mathematics, or you enjoy languages, or you enjoy geography, it gives you an idea of, you know, the direction that you can push yourself in. So I'm not dismissing the education system, the way it's set up, but I definitely think when you get to sort of like 13 years of age, maybe 14 years of age, there should be a life skills or topics for life compulsory classes. And I'll just run down and I'll just start the list here of what I think should be in the compulsory questions for life or compulsory topics for life category. Now, if you think, if you have better ideas or different ideas and you think I've missed something, get in touch with us at the website, www.everythingsillusion.com. Check out the Facebook and the Twitter, and we're quite good at responding, so let us know. Okay, so the first one I think that should be in every lessons for life should be tax. I think it should be made clear to young people at 14, 15 that when they go into work, when they're going to be paying tax, and explain to them what tax is. So just a dictionary definition here. Tax is the financial charge or levy imposed upon a taxpayer, that's to an individual or legal entity. So it can be a corporation, which is a legal entity, by a state or the function equivalent of a state to fund various public expenditures. And a failure to pay can be punishable by law. So it's explaining to the young person, you're going to go into the working world, you're going to do 40 hours in the week, and somebody's going to take a big chunk of that cash off you, and that cash is going to pay for the hospitals, it's going to pay for the council stuff, it's going to pay for the police and the fire services, and various other kind of road works, etc, etc. So it's just explaining where that money's going, because for me at first I was like, what the fuck is happening here? It's £197 coming out of my pocket. The next thing I think should be compulsory is voting. All the young team should get information about how they can vote and how voting works, and just on the basics like how to register, where to register. Going on to the gov.uk, this for the UK, but gov.uk website, and putting yourself in an electoral register, which is good for your credit later on in life, getting good credit for buying things in this corporate world. Learning about why it's important to vote, that you have power in a system, and
that you can make a change, and your little X or your little cross on a bit of paper is valid. And it's one of the biggest problems within the system is people with education and people with value vote, i.e. Tories, and the working classes a lot of the time don't vote. We're seeing a resurgence of this in Scotland as people are becoming more aware of the power and the value that they have. So voting. Health, I'd have a class on health, and as I say, this is getting targeted to the kind of 14-year-olds, the younger ones, where they're starting to take some of these things a bit more serious. They're starting to realise that in a few short years they may be into the world by themselves, either going to university, getting a job, leaving the home, or for whatever circumstances they may already be in that circumstance. So it's about dealing with life after school. These are these kind of topics for life subjects. So health, these kind of basics of getting hydrated, doing the minimum amount of exercise that you need, joining a sports club, getting enough sleep in your day, no drinking too much, no smoking too much, no taking too many drugs, the basics of a good solid health so that you can move forward. Current affairs. I never have a class on current affairs so that the young team can learn the difference between a news story and how a news story has built, and how to source biased opinions, because that's what we do source. We source biased opinions to conform with their own biases. So if we don't like the stuff that the BBC is pumping out, they can go and find fantastic podcasts like everythingsillusion.com and find some interesting subjects, etc., on the various current events. Always giving people the information and the ability to source and search and find both sides or more than the two sides to every argument, so they can make balanced opinions about the current events which will affect their life and require their vote. Laws of the land. There should definitely be a class on the law. What is the law? How does it work? Etc. etc. So a dictionary definition of a law is the system of rules which a particular country or community recognises as regulating the actions of its members, and which it may enforce by the imposition of penalties, i.e. shooting birds is against the law, and for that you reap the consequences. Now it's kind of crazy because you're born not by your choice, you're just randomly born, be it you believe in God or you believe in whatever. You're born, and through no choice of your own, you're born white, Scottish, in Ayrshire, and therefore are subject to the law of the land. And I was born in the 80s, so I'm subject to the laws of the land of this era, of this government, etc, etc. So laws are a strange beast, because obviously if I was not of my choosing born in, say, America or France or Indonesia or Guatemala or somewhere else, then I would have a different set of laws and a different set of regulations to live my life by. And we can see that, if you're kids being born today in Colorado can smoke weed by the time they're 10, 15, they will smoke weed, whereas here in Scotland you can't, it's against the law. So what is the whole idea of a law? It gets people thinking, so that's the law. The next one, I would have a whole class devoted to knowing your rights. So like human rights, your just to know your rights, because if you know your rights, and the young people coming out of school know their rights, they'll have an idea of their own value, and when they have an idea of their own value, they'll go forward into the world to make a difference. Positive or negative, but they'll make a difference, they'll make an impact, and that is important. They will be not just a cog in a machine, they will be the person designing the machine. So I've just, there's actually 30 human rights. I'll just run through them extremely fast, 1 to 30, just the title. We ready? Here we go. 1. We are all free and equal. 2. Don't discriminate. 3. The right to life. 4. No slavery, past and present. 5. No torture. 6. We all have the same right to use the law. 7. We are protected by the law. 8. Fair treatment by fair courts. 9. No unfair detainment. 10. The right to trial. 11. Innocent until proven guilty. 12. The right to privacy. 13. Freedom to move. 14. The right to asylum. 15. The right to nationality. 16. Marriage and family. 17. Your own things. 18. Freedom of thought. 19. Free to say what you want. 20. Meet where you like. 21. The right to democracy. 22. The right to social security. 23. Workers' rights. 24. The right to play. 25. A bed and some food. 26. The right to education. 27. Culture and copyright. 28. A free and fair world. 29. Our responsibilities. And 30. Nobody can take away these rights and freedoms from us. So that's the 30 human rights that people, or the basic rights as a human being on this planet. And if you think about some of the things, you have the right to privacy. You're dealing with a lawyer, etc. The right to asylum. That's interesting, especially what's happening in Europe, etc. These are basic human rights that people fought for. And that should be educated in the Topics for Life class by everythingsanillusion.com. Financial advice. So things like budgeting. Obviously at 14, 15, 16, 17, into your 20s, you're moving into the real world. You get a job, you get some cash. It's the first time you've ever had cash. You get £500. Your parents want digs, or the place that you're living. You pay your rent, your electric, your gas, your food, your travel, your clothes, etc., etc. And if you're a bit crazy, as I was when you're young, you have not a clue about budgeting, and you have not a clue about... And these sort of things are supposedly will be taught to you by your parents. But I think that's kind of unfair in the sense of, again, you don't choose your parents, and you don't choose the skills and the life experience that your parents have. Some people's parents may be fantastic at passing on information. Some people's parents may not. Some people may not have parents. So in the sense of having a class like this within a school environment, you're getting that ability to learn some of these key life skills, which I think is essential. So let's look at some budgeting. So some of the key things. A basic budgeting formula would be, you get £1,000 in, you're going to spend, and you would calculate, my rent is this, my gas is this, my food is this, blah blah blah, £600 a month, therefore I have £400 a month to spend on things that I need, or things that I want, or to save. So always give yourself a wee bit of room to manoeuvre. I would, if that was the example, £1,000, £600, always save. Always save. Always save. I think that's one of the best advices about budgeting. Even if it's 1%, 2%, 10%, always put something by every time you get cash. So a class on budgeting. Cultures of the world. You sort of get a wee bit in religious education and in geography and in modern studies, but an actual class that showed you the different cultures of the world. Okay, told you about the different fantastic things out of different cultures, and showed you how different cultures is a beautiful thing. If the world has over 100,000 different cultures, your culture is just one, and each of the cultures was created by a human being with the human rights, just like you. And there's some amazing different ways of looking at the world, amazing different creative expressions, music, art, history, amazing. So a class on the cultures of the world, especially in today's world where we're living in a more multicultural world. The world is getting smaller due to the internet, due to all these kind of modern technologies. So superb. So budgeting and how money works, we've done that one. First aid. I think there should be a first aid course. Everybody should have to go on it and learn the basics of CPR, the airways, how to identify what's happening, how to stay relaxed, how to call for help, how to put somebody in a recovery position. Shit like that saves lives. That's some real stuff, and it can be taught, and it gives people the confidence that when the shit hits the fan, they can at least help or prolong until the emergency services get there. Very valuable. Politics and policies. Definitely a brief class on the different political parties. Labour cunts, Tories cunts, Green Party cunts. Going through them all and explaining what their policies are, what they're about, what they do good, what they do bad, and giving people an idea of what they are. Because definitely in Scotland there's a lot of loyalty to what your parents voted for, and everybody should have a basic paragraph understanding of what things are without being biased, i.e. like they're cunts, because politics is a very bias depending on which kind of family etc. you grew up in. Arranging a funeral. Now, arranging a funeral, definitely I think is a thing that you should have a class on. Death and taxes happens to us all. When somebody dies in your family, what do you do? If you're the head of the family, what do you do? How do you arrange it? How do you finance it? How do you not get fleeced by the funeral director who is maybe trying to sell you some fancy gold-plated airtight coffin, with ivory tusks? Who knows? You're grieving. It's stressful already. How to deal with that? If you knew that, it would take a wee bit of the edge off how to go forward. So, practical DIY, wiring a plug, simple electrical stuff, simple plumbing stuff, simple woodwork, the painting, wallpapering. These kind of simple basic skills that everybody will have to do at some point when they're young. They don't have cash, they've moved into a new place, they want to paint it, they want to put some wallpaper up, but they've not got a clue. Some practical kind of stuff like that. Beautiful. Advertising and marketing traps. There should be a class on looking at the finer detail and being complicit and complacent and looking at what you're signing up to. There was a big thing here in the UK recently where so many different big loan companies and giving people like payday loans, but with 17,000% APR, etc. And people getting absolutely fleeced because the television adverts and the magazine adverts were so nice and beautiful, and you only need £300 till payday, we'll give you da-da-da, and then the small print would whip up on the screen in 2 seconds and disappear, and then people would go down to the shop, go in there, get their cash, and then before you know it, never be able to pay it back in a life of Sundays, and before they know it, they owe from £300 to £20,000. Shit like that has to stop, but one way to make it stop is by educating the young team to the fact that these kind of advertising and marketing traps are the basic and standard kind of techniques that near enough every major marketing company uses, so don't get caught in them. Some of the key ones, and only another 3 left or so. Social skills. I think kids should be taught social skills like how to talk to women, how to talk to men, job interviews, communicating with people in society, say on trams, on trains, on buses. The ability to communicate. For some people, again, they learn that at school, they learn that in the family, but some people, they just never can get ahead in life, not because they don't have the skills or the talent or the expertise or the experience, but they just shut down in job interviews and picking up women and all these different things. So it's Keen people they kind of social skills, key social skills about how to deal with life. I suppose that's communication as well, the ability to communicate. One of my favourites, and obviously within school you do get a basics in home economics. They show you how to make a upside down pineapple cake and a bowl of soup. Now the bowl of soup I like because that shit's real, you can eat your soup, you can live on soup, and when you're 17, 18 years of age living by yourself, soup is real. But I think in home economics or in a cooking, they should show you the cooking basics, chopping your onions, garlic, the core cheap veg, using cheap cuts of meat and cooking it over a long period of time, how to make soups and bakes and cheap pasta dishes, and giving you the basic skills and confidence that you can then go and open a cooking book and be confident enough to go, I can make that pasta bolognese. All I need is some onions and some mince and some tomatoes, let's do it. And the very last thing I think that should be included in school for a topics for life is belief. A class that instills belief in the kid and instills that they are of value, that they are of worth. Because a lot of kids maybe not get that at school and they maybe not get that at home. So where are they going to get it from when they go out into the big bad world? And I think that's one of the key things out of all the topics for life. When you instill people with value and you give them belief in themselves, the world is their oyster. Possibilities are unbound. And I think that's one of the key things that we should be teaching in schools. We should be, and they do teach them in schools. They teach them in elite schools where you pay top dollar to put your kid into. They get taught how to be leaders. They get taught value, whereas they don't in the poorer schools. So that's my ideas on schools. I think all the subjects that we get taught just now are fantastic, but when we get to the age of 13, 14, to instill a bit of awesomeness, to instill and give people a chance that they maybe not get for their parents, because you don't choose to be born where you were born, and the skills and experience that your parents had. And basically that's it. It's a quick list there. It was how to get a job, tax, voting, health, current events, the laws of the land, financial advice and budgeting, human rights, religions of the world, cultures of the world, first aid, politics and policies, arranging a funeral, practical DIY, advertising, marketing, traps, social skills, communication, cooking basics, and how to believe in yourself. Now, I'll have a link to some of that stuff on the podcast. Give it a look. As I said, if there's anything within that you think you should add, or we should add to that list, or you have some fantastic links for some of the material there that people would really love to check out, then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or via the website, etc. Please check out our sponsors, the indents and on the page, robwallacemedia.com, etc. And if you listen via iTunes or any of the big sort of things like that, give us a 5-star rating if you would. That'd be much appreciated. Thanks very much. Click those Google ads. Bye bye.
Everything is an Illusion is brought to you by robwallacemedia.com, award-winning media. TheEnergeticMind.com, inspirational, motivational and thought-provoking art. And Health Made Simple. Buy today, change your life forever. healthmadesimple.info. Thank you, and remember, question everything.